we beat ourselves up about time when we should rather just be applauding the fact that we completed it and probably actually in a decent, respectable time. Yeah. But just we put so much pressure to cross the line in a speedy time that we kind of ruin it for ourselves. Yeah. We take our glory away.
This is Running for Real, the podcast for runners who know that for every runner's high, there are just as many lows. All those just missed PRs, easy runs that feel hard, injury blues, and more. Each week, we'll talk to running, health, and wellness experts about their highs, lows, and best advice to build our confidence. Running for Real is about being honest, being brave, and most of all, not feeling alone. And now here's our host, Tina Muir.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to episode 133 of the Running for Real podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now, today I have a very weird episode for you. I firstly want to address the issue that is the audio quality is not as good as it usually is. And let me just tell you the story about why that is. So, Jenny Falconer is a radio and television presenter best known for her roles on the ITV daytime show This Morning, which is a British show, in case that wasn't obvious. She's now a radio presenter for Heart FM, which is my favourite channel ever. And if you are British, you probably will know her voice, maybe not her name, maybe you will, I don't know. But Jenny is big time. She's done some amazing things. I've grown up kind of watching her on the TV. It's been really cool to get to know her here. But I reached out to her. I wanted to talk to her about her running. It's become a crucial part of her life. And she recently launched this podcast called Run Pod. So someone tagged me, and thank you to whoever that was, I cannot remember, tagged me in her post where she was talking about launching her podcast. And I sent her a message saying, direct message me. I'd love to have you on my show. Didn't expect anything. She replied to me. She was so sweet. She was lovely and agreed to come on my show, which I was absolutely just so happy about. So we agreed we would meet in London while I was there. We picked a day that would work for her, although obviously she has a very hectic schedule and had to come straight from filming at ITV, which for those Americans, it's kind of like, I guess ABC would maybe be the equivalent. Whatever the channel Ellen DeGeneres is on, it's kind of the equivalent of that channel. I don't know what that would be. NBC? It's not ABC. Anyway. So we agreed we would meet in London. I obviously don't live in England anymore. So I asked a friend to rent an office space for me so we could record there. Jenny and I met there, and we went into this room, and I'd spent the entire morning trying to figure out how I was going to record this because I had not taken all my recording equipment with me to England because of falling and hurting my shoulder a few days before I left for England. I wanted to really keep my case as light as I could because I knew I was going to have to lift it with a bad shoulder and holding a child. So I kept my case really light. It was severely underweight for the first time, I think, ever in my life, traveling across to England. But it meant I left my podcast recording equipment. Now, the other thing was I was going to a concert that evening, so I couldn't even take my laptop because it would have meant I would have had to gone from the interview with her straight to this concert with a laptop. And I'm not even sure they would let you into a concert with a laptop. This was a big time concert at the O2, which is one of the major stadiums that people play at, or not even a stadium, it's a concert hall. So I didn't know what I was going to do, so Jenny and I rigged something up so that you can listen to this episode. We had my Beats headphones sitting, resting on a jar of candy, a jar of sweets, and we had it in between us and we were both leaning in to talk to it. So that is how you were listening to this. I recorded it as 3 voice memos on my phone, and wonderful Jeremy, my editor, has put this together. So apologies for him for the extra work, but I really hope you enjoy this episode. Jenny just blew me away with how wonderful she was. We've become friends and I can't wait for you guys to meet her. So let's get to the episode. Jenny, thank you so much for joining me on the Running for Real podcast. I am really excited that you are joining me, but also that you are prepared to deal with this kind of sketchy setup that I have here. I'm going to explain in a minute, but thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, and don't worry about the sketchy setup. I like it.
We're actually in a very nice setup. We're sitting in an office. It's a very nice office, but we're both losing our voices. I'm using the most weird looking setup with phones and microphones, so I do apologise again about the audio, but we're going to do the best we can here. I wanted to get Jenny on. I knew you guys would love her, and I want you to hear about her so you can go listen to her podcast because it's amazing, so good, and so different to mine, so you will learn something completely new every time. But so firstly, as a lot of my listeners are from the US, tell me, who is Jenny Falconer? Tell us a bit about who you are. Just kind of, you don't have to say all the career highlights, but you can say I'm a mum if you want to start with that.
Yeah. Well, I am a mum, actually.
Yes.
I'm a mum to a little girl. She's 7. She's called Ella. She takes up a lot of my time.
She's adorable.
Yeah. And around that, I also am a television and radio presenter. So I've just come from doing a TV show now. So I do like, daytime shows. For years I worked on the equivalent of Good Morning America, GMTV, and I do a lot of entertainment stuff. And I had a show over here called Entertainment Today, so kind of and I also have a daily early breakfast show on Heart Radio.
One of the best radio stations there is.
This is when you first got in touch. You said that even though you live over there, you still listen to Heart.
I do, and my listeners will attest to this. That I always talk about the fact that when I'm not feeling good or I'm out running and like maybe, the last like half an hour of a long run, you're just like, I just want to be done. I will often put Heart on just because I know it's going to cheer me up. I know the music that they're going to have on. There isn't really an equivalent in the US because they kind of tend to categorize it by, you either have like the hits or you have like the 80s, 90s, whereas Heart is literally, can be like anything, but it's got a lot of like newer stuff, but it's just such classics that you don't hear other places. I love it.
Yeah,
so
they try and make it the feel-good station. So everything is upbeat. There's no like slow, sad, depressing songs, which is why actually, if you were listening to music when you run, it's kind of like a really good running playlist because everything's upbeat.
Yes, although I will say every 15 minutes or however long it is, they do as top of the hour, isn't it? They do the news. That part I'm always like, ugh. But the worst part is the PPI adverts. I'm just like, oh, please.
Commercial radio always has adverts.
So that's the only bad thing. And people listening are like, you have adverts. But yes, but I promise you my adverts are nothing like these adverts that you're going to hear. Everyone knows those kind of adverts that we hear on TV and radio. That they're just kind of unavoidable. Okay, so this is a running podcast. You've talked about who you are a little bit. And so tell us a bit about running. Not so much, I don't want to talk about when you got into running. We're going to talk about that in a minute. In school, love it or hate it? Was it your punishment?
I loved it. I wasn't very good at it. I was better at the longer distance, the cross country.
So you did enjoy cross country in school?
Yes, so I did. I liked cross country, but there was a show on television over here called Jim Will Fix It. Do you remember?
No.
And there was this guy, and you wrote to him, and he would pick letters and he would make people's dreams come true. And I wrote to Jim Will Fix It and asked him, I wrote several times and said, please, will you pick me up from outside the school gate when we've all set off? And then will you drop me at the end so I don't have to do the cross country? And he never got back to me, but I wrote every year going, please do it. So I obviously didn't love it that much. Yeah. But I was always trying to get out of it. But I did do cross country at school and I liked the 1500 meters. It was the fast ones. So I'm quite tall. I'm 5'9", and I'm quite I like to say Amazonian, but I think bulky might be better. And so I actually, for running fast, it's quite a lot of effort for me to run fast. So longer distance seems to be easier for me, although not quite as long and as fast as you.
Well, I don't know. It's interesting to think about, like in school, longer. You said 1500, and that's kind of what I remember too. But now, when you talk about 1500
is nothing, is it?
Yeah. You might maybe do one of those. I know in America they have a lot of mile races just randomly around, but I don't even think they have those over here.
No, I literally do 1500 meters if I'm trying to avoid the rain and get home from the station. I just run that. But yeah, otherwise you wouldn't do the 1500 meters really so much.
No, but that is fun and interesting to hear. I thought for a second you were going to tell us a really sad story about you wrote to Jim Will Fix It and said, please make me good at running. Like,
no, please get me out of it.
Well, I think a lot of people would have made their letters to Jim in that same way but more for hating it. And my listeners know the story. You don't know this. I actually, I hid in the toilets when it was the cross-country, tryouts essentially for the team because I didn't want to do it.
How funny is that we both tried to get out of it and now we both actively want to do it, and we have podcasts talking about how much we love it.
I know. It is kind of comical, and
I think there's something in being forced into doing something as well, though, because when you're at school, you don't have the choice whether you want to do the running. You're told you have to. Yeah. But when you're old enough to make a decision and you know how it benefits you and how it makes you feel, suddenly you're like, well, actually, I do want to do it.
But I also think, for me especially, I don't know about you, but there was the kind of cool aspect as well. Running wasn't cool. It made your face go red. And
we had to wear hideous, tight shorts, like 50s style. I mean, we weren't able... I'm not that old. We had to wear like horrible like bikini bottoms to run in, and I was at a girls' school. We were all paranoid about having fat thighs, and then suddenly to go and run in pants, it was just hideous. Leggings would have been fine, but no, they made everyone wear pants.
Yeah. I remember hiding. When I had to do, once I somehow ended up on the team, I've always said I have no memory of ending up on the team. Just I was there, and I remember trying to do my quote-unquote training, if you want to call it that, and being so embarrassed if someone told me they saw me, because I didn't want to be known. So I wonder how much of it, over here especially, I don't know about if it changed now, you have to tell us later with Ella, but I don't think running was cool, and I think that was part of why I didn't want to be associated with it, because everyone else was complaining about it. So
see, well, nowadays, just running is very cool.
Yeah, that's what
it's so cool. With do you have Park Run in America?
There's a few around.
Park Run is completely transformed. The attitude towards running. There are hundreds of thousands of people that will go and do a park run every Saturday morning now, and it's made it into a bit of a family get together actually. Yeah. And on Sundays I now go to park run. There's a junior one. It's 2K.
Yeah, I've heard about
So we take our daughter to that, and it's such a brilliant family atmosphere. They're toddlers taking part. I mean, they take forever, but they're all smiling and happy. And then there's the older children trying to get PBs. But they have turned running into something that's not just a niche sport for kind of Olympic wannabes. It is something that anyone can do.
Thank you to Athletic Greens for sponsoring this episode of the Running for Real podcast. Athletic Greens is the ultimate daily all-in-one supplement that comes in a tasty green powder. You know how green powders usually taste like you are just drinking a whole bowl of dirt? This definitely does not taste like that. Of course, it doesn't taste like you are drinking cranberry juice from the supermarket, but it is going to taste good. I love the taste of it. It's a slight appley taste, and I just love knowing that I'm getting 75 proven vitamins, minerals, and whole food source ingredients, or 12 servings of fruit and vegetables before I even wake up myself properly in the morning. I just mix it with 14 ounces of water. Give it a stir, and then off I go. That's me for the rest of the day. I really feel confident that it's covering those 5 critical areas of health, and you can just know that your body is being looked after, even if your diet isn't absolutely perfect. Those of you who have tried Athletic Greens based on my recommendations so far have been loving it, and I have really enjoyed seeing that. It's made me so happy. I just took the travel packs with me on my vacation to England, and it made it nice and easy. And you can get 20 servings of Athletic Greens as a travel pack that's valued at $79 with your first order. Those travel packs are perfect for summer vacations. You know, when we go on vacation, we tend to let our diet slip a little bit, but this way, at least you know, no matter what you're eating or drinking, you can be making sure you are getting those 75 whole-sourced ingredients. You are going to be getting probiotics and prebiotics, digestive enzymes. It covers it all. Go to athleticgreens.com/Tina to get yourself a free travel pack worth $79 with your first order. That is athleticgreens.com/Tina.
There are hundreds of thousands of people that will go and do a park run every Saturday morning now. And it's made it into a bit of a family get together actually. Yeah. And on Sundays I now go to park run. There's a junior one. It's 2K.
Yeah, I've heard about
So we take our daughter to that, and it's such a brilliant family atmosphere. They're toddlers taking part. I mean, they take forever, but they're all smiling and happy. And then there's the older children trying to get PBs. But they have turned running into something that's not just a niche sport for kind of Olympic wannabes. It is something that anyone can do.
Yeah, and I love that. And I think that is kind of worldwide now, that it's become something. I think in America it's more kind of on the racing end of things. I honestly don't know how parkrun would do long term, like not long term, but widespread, because I think the racers would get annoyed that it was taking people away from them, and it's free.
Well, that's what Paul Sinton-Hewitt, who founded Parkrun, he said initially a lot of running clubs were against it because they felt that they were going to take the runners away, but actually soon they realized all they're doing is we're bringing new runners in, they're working together, and they're not taking them away. They're just actually encouraging more people to do. If you don't know what parkrun is, it's this fabulous concept where you just rock up on a Saturday morning at 9:30 or 9 o'clock, 9:30, and you meet loads of other people in your area, and it's all free, and there are loads of volunteers that give their time for free, and you just race. And you get your time.
You can just run, you can walk, you can, it's always...
It's not a race. He actually says it's definitely not a race. You run, you walk, you do whatever. You just do 5K and you get your time. If you want to race yourself, you can, but it's not a race against anyone else.
There's no bibs. It's just literally you scan a barcode.
And it's all about community spirit. Everyone goes for coffee or cake afterwards. And that is it. It's just a get together where you celebrate the fact you're doing a 5K, however fast, however slow.
Yeah, it is so special. And I do have that episode with Paul Sinton-Hewitt. So if you do want to learn more about it and you don't know about it, go listen to that. And I think in America, I believe there is the opportunity to make a park run in your city if you want to take the charge on that one. So it's up to you if you want to go for that in the future. Now, okay, so I've talked about childhood. What's next? So when did it kind of come back into your life where you really started to say, I'm a runner, I'm doing this?
So I started presenting on television when I was 19 years old. And it was a whole new world to me. I was at university and I was also a full-time presenter. So it didn't leave me with much time. So I couldn't do team sports, couldn't do any exercise in that respect. I was a member of a gym, but I was always on the road and I was always filming away. So I didn't really get to do any activity. And then when I went back to university, you know what it's like at university, everyone's out eating burgers, drinking wine or beer. And all that happened was I got really unfit and I felt really unhealthy. And I was on television and I was getting bigger and I wanted to take control. And so I realized that if I started running, I could do the exercise on my own terms, in my own time. And I set myself the challenge that I'd like to run for 30 minutes without stopping. And I was living in Glasgow at the time in Scotland, west coast of Scotland, which is, you know, it's amazing. It's a beautiful city, but it's, you know, it's quite cold and rains a lot in the winter months. But I would go out no matter what, and I had to get half an hour without stopping. And it took me a while, but when I got to half an hour, I then wanted to make it an hour. And then I just carried on. And before I knew it, I was considering myself a runner.
That's so cool. And was there a time along there where it transitioned from, I mean, obviously it's now, but it transitioned from I'm doing this to keep the weight off, to keep eating the way I'm eating, to, wow, this is actually about more than weight now?
Yes, quite quickly. So the weight loss thing, it does affect you because your metabolism speeds up. Everything kind of helps, doesn't it? So the running did change my whole attitude towards weight. And also with running, I started being a bit more careful with what I ate and drank. Now, beyond that, I actually then just really liked the way I felt afterwards. And I think that's one of the things about running that I like more than anything else. It's the way it makes you feel good. And I really missed that. So what happened was quite quickly, I really craved the way it made me feel. And so if I didn't go for a run, I would start getting really sad, feeling a bit blue. So then
That's good you went sad. Not usually people get like angry and like lash out at their loved ones. They're like, what did I do? You're like,
no, I kind of just...
just when you got sad.
Just like when really, I could tell that I hadn't been out for a run and I would get a bit moody. My mum would be on the phone to me going, you need to go for one of your runs. So I used to pack my trainers with me whenever I went away from home and I'd go out for a half-hour run. That's all I need. I needed to do a half-hour up to like 5K or just over. And I would do that wherever I went, whenever I could. And it changed my life. It changed my outlook, changed the way I felt, made me more positive, made me care less about what people thought, because I felt better myself. And actually it just turned my life around. And also it's something that I didn't have to rely on other people for. I could do it myself. And then I did a lot of travel shows through the years. I went abroad and around the world, and all I needed to do was take my trainers and sports bra and shorts and whatever. And then I'd be able to do fitness wherever I went. And then I started realizing that by doing this, I was actually seeing more of the world, and I was seeing things that weren't on the schedule for work. Just getting out, getting up earlier, going to bed earlier, and just I felt healthier, felt more alive because I was feeling more energetic in the mornings. I just couldn't live without that now.
And when you started getting to this point, you know, we've mentioned now that running is kind of cool, and maybe not so much now, but did you ever have like resistance from people, maybe people you were working alongside, that were like, oh, come on, like you're not going to go to bed early to get a run in, or are you really going to go outside and sweat when we've got, you know, got to start filming in 3 hours? Like,
people always roll their eyes. Oh, God, running like that. I think it's great. I love it. If I find someone else that wanted to go running, I'd be like, yes, I can go, because you're going. We can all go together. My parents are quite funny, because whenever I would go home to visit them for Christmas, on Christmas Day, never did it, but I used to always want to get up and go for a run. And they went, no, you can't. You can't. It's family time. And they just didn't get it. And so I would never go for a run, because they're not into running, and they're kind of resistant to the idea that it would be like a great way for me to start Christmas Day. So I never did. And, but now they do part run on Christmas Day, you know, loads of people go off and do it, or Boxing Day, or whatever day it falls on. People go and actually do exercise, and I get it. It makes sense, but I've never had the guts to do it. My parents still roll their eyes at it.
So do you have any advice for someone who, I mean, we've all got those people in our lives, haven't we, that roll their eyes, or like, oh, do you really have to? Like, can't you just take another day off? Or
it's because they haven't tried it.
Yeah.
So my husband was someone that did this. I've been with him 17 years. He's never run. Ever.
Even now.
He wouldn't even consider running. And I started my podcast, and he started listening to the interviews, and he started listening to the way it made people feel. And then he tried. He'd never tried when I've told him, but he listened to all these conversations, and he suddenly felt like he was missing out on something. And now he's a runner.
So good.
And he can do 5K. He's trying to get it down, because he's doing 29-minute 5K now. And he's never run before. He's only run for like 2 months.
That's so good. I wish that worked with my parents. They've been around my running myself my whole life. They love it. Like when I finished my race, I remember in school, I'd be like, okay, let's go home now. And they'd be like, no, we want to watch the rest of it, and we want to see all the other people. And like, you know, when one of the runners, the British runners are on TV, then my mum's like at the screen, like screaming at it. And I'm like, how do you not see that, like, you could feel like that too? So I'm so impressed you, man.
I think some people think as well that they've missed the boat. They're like, well, you know, I've never done it. Therefore, I can't do it now. But I don't think it's ever too late to start running.
So have you managed to convince anyone who you were like, wow, like other than your husband, like maybe a celebrity who you kind of like, come on, like give it a go, and they'd be like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, so there's a friend of mine, she's called Sophie Rayworth, and I interviewed her, and she is a newsreader over here, and she's also a presenter on the BBC. She's a very successful presenter, and she watched me. I ran the London Marathon. Yeah. I've done it quite a few times. Yeah. I ran it in 2009, I think it was. Or in 2010, I ran across the finish line. I got my best time, which is nothing like yours, but I got like three.
It's still fast.
Three and like 3:31.
Yeah,
it's
amazing.
My favorite. I mean, I was so proud. Yeah. And I did an interview on the BBC, and they said, "How was the run?" I said, "It was amazing. I loved it. I have to thank my trainer, Karen Weir, and I just love how it's made me feel, and I'm so proud." Sophie watched that interview and immediately phoned Karen up and booked in for lessons.
Wow.
I booked in for like kind of like running sessions. And ever since then, every time I've seen her, she's been like, you got me into running. And we became running buddies. And she is now so fast and runs so far. I could never keep up with her. She did the Marathon des Sables recently. And she is big time runner now and super, super speedy. She did I think last year she did a 3:20 marathon.
Wow.
So yeah, she's way better than me now, but that's
a good
I got her into it.
3:20, like that's not unrealistic.
So she started, she's just turned 50 and she started mid-40s.
Wow.
Like early to mid-40s. So it's never too late.
Okay, well maybe I've got to try that angle. I feel like I've tried everything with my parents, but I think for a lot of people listening, I mean that's a great thing to get them involved and do what you can to inspire them to give it a try. So thank you for sharing that.
That's all right.
Okay, so let's talk about the London Marathon. You just said you ran a 3:31, which for a lot of people listening is like around the ultimate goal, particularly being mostly American listeners. 3:30-ish is about Boston qualifier. Do you have any desire to do Boston?
Well, I would have loved to have done all these. 3:31 I was so proud of. I was actually going for 3:30 and I was 3:31 in like 2 seconds. So I was just off it. It's so annoying. But I was all training for the marathon again the following year and I was going for 3:15 and I actually think I would have got it, but I fell pregnant. And then I've never been as fast. How did you come back from pregnant?
I haven't come back yet.
Oh, haven't you?
Well, I mean, I guess I mean, you're kind of looking at my Boston time, I'm assuming, but that's 34 minutes away from my PB.
Yes.
So like, I don't see that as back, but I see what you're saying. Like that's still very fast.
I mean, I would love to match that PB. In fact, I'd like to even get 3:30 something again, but I just find it really hard. I get up for work at 2:30 every day.
Oh yeah.
This is one of the reasons I have such a husky voice is I'm just run down actually. I'm just tired, but get up at 2:30 every day, work then during the day. I also play golf and I'm trying to improve quite.
I was going to say that you seem to be very into that, right?
So yeah, and I've got a lot of competition, so I'm training for that. And then I've got to pick my daughter up from school every day and then run her around.
Yeah.
So I feel like I just don't have time to get faster.
Yeah.
And also my nutrition is atrocious.
Is there kind of a hack for traveling? Well, actually, let's save that for a bit later. Let's just continue on with this. But I don't think it's too late because you just interviewed Jo Pavey on RunPod.
Yeah.
And she's perfect proof that like you never know what could happen. And I get like you obviously know that running is relative and everyone has their own levels, but I don't see why you can get close to that.
Yeah, but, she's incredible. She's hopefully going to be competing at the Olympics in 2020, and she'll be definitely the oldest in her category, and she'll be 47, I think.
Yeah, 46, 47, which is amazing. And then the second thing, in answer to you saying about like how did I do it, I think unfortunately for me, I'm kind of proof that there is, as much as someone can try and train and you have your own kind of commitment level, there is a certain ceiling. And I think for me, that kind of proves that I can go kind of maybe 70% in and still run that, whereas so I think I'm partly just lucky that I can get to that level.
Are you still chasing a PB? Does everyone chase a PB now? Because I don't chase a PB anymore. I just I want to do better than I did last year. But I don't necessarily need to beat that PB I've got. I would love to, but I don't need to.
I think my answer is to be continued. You don't know this, but my story kind of went viral when I stopped running to get pregnant. And at that time, everyone was saying, oh, she's retired. And I was like, I'm not retired. I'm like on hiatus. We'll see. And we'd like to have another child before I start even thinking about it. But I would like to leave the door open because I want another GB vest. But we talked about levels, it takes going to hell and back to get to that top level. Your whole life has to be dedicated to it. You have to be quite selfish, to be honest. And you have to just put yourself in a pain cave that's just, you're on the point of throwing up all the time. You saw Hayley Carruthers, I'm sure the pictures of her like crawling across the finish line.
Yeah.
Like things like that. You have to put yourself at that level. And I don't know if I mentally want to ever go back there.
It's difficult. You know, I was chatting to Kelly Holmes the other day, and she had some dark times through her professional career as well. And there were moments where she was very depressed. She got injured, and the injury just makes it even worse for you because you don't know if there's going to be any return. You've focused your whole running career to get to Olympic level, and then you think you've lost it. She did go on to win.
She did.
But she didn't think she was going to at some stage.
Thank you to Body Health for sponsoring this episode of the Running for Real podcast. Now, you have heard me talking about Body Health for years now, and there is a reason for that, because they are a good friend to me. They will be a good friend to you in that they will help you no matter what stage you are in your life. If you are training hard for a race, ideal for you. It's going to help you recover, help keep those injuries away. If you are just kind of running just for the enjoyment of it, it's still going to help you with those tough days. And chances are, if you are in that stage, you could be at a point where some other thing is stressing you out in your life and you don't have the time or the energy to be dealing with other things. Body Health will help you take care of that, especially if life is hectic, because sometimes we can miss meals after we have our runs, not because we're meaning to, but just because we have a lot of stuff to get done, and finding food is not always the easiest thing to do. So in that situation, Body Health can help you. Well, if you are pregnant, Body Health is going to be good for you as well, help you recover from just, the stresses of growing a small child. Same goes for breastfeeding. Perfect Amino is a wonderful product to use no matter what stage you are in. It contains the 8 essential amino acids that the body needs. And those essential amino acids are in the exact proportion needed for maximum utilization. If you haven't already tried it, I don't know why. I've been telling you about it for years, and it is absolutely a wonderful product. There is 100% money back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Go to tinamuir.com/aminos. That's TINAMUIR.com/aminos, and go get yourself 10% off the entire website, including Perfect Amino.
I was chatting to Kelly Holmes the other day, and she had some dark times through her professional career as well. And there were moments where she was very depressed. She got injured, and the injury just makes it even worse for you because you don't know if there's going to be any return. You've focused your whole running career to get to Olympic level, and then you think you've lost it. She did go on to win. She did. But she didn't think she was going to at some stage. Yeah, I definitely want to somehow get her on my podcast, so you may be my way in there. But because I just would love to address, a lot of my episodes address the mental side of running, so that would really be... She is definitely someone to talk to. She is like the ultimate, for sure. Did I see somewhere that you ran a 1:35 in the half marathon? I did 1:35. That is flying. Like that's really... that was that year I was fast. Same year. I didn't even train. I just turned up and did it. And so I wanted 1:30. I obviously didn't get that, but I just ran. Didn't even wear watches, nothing, just ran fast. But I don't think I could get that again. Well, we'll see. I'm gonna keep working on you. Yeah, I'd like that. And what about, we mentioned Boston. Any aim of any longer races or trail races or fell races or Boston or Tokyo, anything else? I think I am essentially quite lazy. So one of the reasons I love doing London is because I just wake up, get the tube, go to the start line, run the marathon, usually go for a celebratory drink in a pub, then get the tube home, done. And then I go to work the next day. But I would love to run some more marathons. Now, I'm talking about it could be 10 years, 20 years in the future. Yeah, I would love to do a lot of races around Europe. So when I go away traveling, I always take my running kit and I always go running, but to do an event in some of these destinations would be amazing. My brother lives in Cape Town. He's always wanting me to go down there. They've got tons and tons. Oh, yeah. I don't think I could do Comrades, so I think that might be a bit too hilly. And Chrissy Wellington just did that. I haven't actually think to ask how she did, but I know she was nervous. Yeah. But anyway. It would be great though. It would be beautiful. I'd also love to do some in the States. I mean, everyone says do New York, but it's in November. It's cold. And I I'd like to do something in warmer weather.
And if you're used to London, that course is, I've never done like New York, but from what I hear, that course is not easy at all.
Yeah, you see, I like warmer weather. I love London, but I think it's a shame that it's in April because it means you have to train through the really snowy, cold months.
But it always ends up being nice on the day. Almost always, that weather is perfect.
It mostly does. A couple of years ago, it was 25 degrees on marathon day. And I dropped half an hour in time, or maybe even a bit more. It was so hard.
Oh, yeah. It definitely makes a difference for sure. So you talked about, just all these things you have going on. Looking after Ella, being a mother for Ella, and especially being present there. I love that you really make that a priority, and that's really clear through what we see in social media, that you put Ella first, and then you obviously have all these things you do for work, getting up at 2:30. So let's kind of give some advice for people listening. First thing, for someone who is listening and they have a lot going on, what would you say about mentally dealing with adding another thing to your plate, such as marathon training? Like, how do you do that?
Well, I kind of rise to the challenge a little bit, and I like having structure in my day. So for me, look, getting up at 2:30 in the morning is not fun at all, especially in winter, which is when you would do your marathon training. If you're training for London, because it's in April, but you have to train, January through to April, and it's dark. I get up in the dark. I finish work, and it's still dark. I then have to wait at work for an hour before the sun rises because I don't want to go out running in the dark. I think it's just paranoia. I want it to be light. So, but however, in saying that, by doing the exercise, it means that I don't feel tired all the time, because then I have a full working day, sometimes other places. But for anyone who starts work early or who does a night shift, sometimes then going and doing exercise is the last thing you want. But for me, actually, I find the morning is the perfect time to do it. It re-energizes me. It makes me feel fresh. I get outside, I get fresh air. Otherwise, I would be inside all the time. And it also gives me a little bit of structure to my day. If I didn't do that, I'm run down, tired, I feel jet lagged, and I actually don't feel very well.
Yeah.
Because the last thing I want to do is go home and have a nap. Everyone always goes, go and have a nap. I don't want that. It doesn't make me feel better.
I hate the groggy. It's like, come over. I don't understand it.
And your heart's beating fast. You have palpitations when you wake up. You just feel worse. But if I do the exercise, and by exercise I mean running, outside in the fresh air, it just makes me feel so much better.
So you do it from the studio immediately after? Well, yeah. Obviously, depending on...
So basically, I turn my commute home into my run. And when I'm marathon training, all I do is I make it a longer commute. So instead of just going the 7-8 miles home, I would just add another leg on, and I'll kind of maybe go further into London and then run out again.
So is running in London frustrating with all the traffic lights, or have you figured
lovely. So I find different routes, actually. It's been brilliant. So sometimes I'll go, so I work in the centre of London. I work in Leicester Square, kind of like height of tourist town, right? I'll work there, and for me to run home, I just go all the way along the river.
Okay.
I could also extend it, and there's this beautiful place called Richmond Park, 7 miles round the edge. Deer. Yeah. You would never think you're in London. Yeah. So you could add that. Or I could go further into London. I could go to Regent's Park, which is about 5k around the outside. London Zoo's there. You run past the giraffes. Oh, it's amazing. So there's all these parks. Then you've got Regent's Park. You've got Kensington Palace.
I guess that's the nice thing about central London. There are other parks.
There are loads of parks. So yes, you do have to run along the roads. Some of the occasion actually keeps you going because no one wants the humiliation of stopping by a traffic jam. So you just run and then you get to the parks, and it's beautiful. It's really nice.
Okay, that's good. And for someone who, you mentioned that it helps you feel energized.
It truly does.
What do you tell yourself, like on those days where you're like, oh, I just don't want to?
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I have that. I feel that a lot, especially when it's cold and dark. And I'm like, oh, do you know what? I could just sit here and drink another cup of tea, get on the tube and get home. But actually...
didn't you say once that you don't take money with you anymore?
So this guy, Lewis, who was training me, he said the biggest mistake I make is I take a travel card for the train, a credit card in case I want to buy something, and I take my phone. He went, never take those 3 things. He goes, you can pay to get home no matter where you are. I still do take them, but I try not to use them. But what I do is I always think how I will feel. And I know, much like you, if you were sitting here thinking about going for a run now and you're putting it off and you're like, I just finished the podcast. Actually, the minute you go, it's fine. The minute you sit out the door, you're on your way, it's fine. It's just getting your trainers on and getting off the sofa. But the minute you're thinking about it, you're already halfway there. Just do it. And you know you will feel great afterwards. So if you're struggling, and if you ever for me, I put pictures on Instagram. Part of the reason I do it is because I know that if I look back at previous pictures, I'll go, oh yeah, look, I felt great there. And I'll go. And also when I put a picture up when I'm out for a run or when I've come back, loads of people say, actually, you've just spurred me on. I was putting it off, but now I've seen that you're feeling good from doing your run, so I'm going to go and do it. And sometimes you just need reminded that you will feel brilliant afterwards. You never regret it after you've done it.
Unless
you just can't be bothered unless you're injured. And then actually I've been injured several times, and it's so destroying because you know how you would feel if you could go.
Well, and you have to do those extra steps of going to find a gym, and the elliptical just is horrible and boring. And
boring is physio. Oh, yeah. It's so dull. But I always think you can find something to do. I mean, I've never been more frustrated than the times I'm injured, and also so moody because I do a lot of other exercise, but I don't get the same kick out of it as I would do if had I just run. And by the way, when I'm running, I'm not always loving it. Quite often I'm like, I was listening to one of your podcasts where you were saying sometimes you think that you need to stop, but do you need to stop? And I was running at the time and I was like, I just want to stop, but I don't need to. Yeah. But I want to, and therefore I'm telling myself I need to. And then, so on those occasions, I've discussed it with quite a lot of friends. I will stop and I'll walk and I'll count 100 right paces. I always count 100 on my right leg. I count 100 and then I don't have a reason to walk anymore. So then I start again. And even if I only run for a short period of time, I'll only allow myself a count to 100 of walking. But in that time, I quite often have remembered how I'll feel at the end. And I realise that I'm actually just copping out for no reason.
And it's also, I found that you always get the urge to walk a lot. And I particularly did in Boston all the time. But it's actually quite hard to actually do it, to slow down and walk. But then if you do, you kind of feel guilty immediately.
Oh my God, you so
It's
do.
like the Jeff Galloway method of 15 seconds, I think, is his walk breaks. But you usually get about 15 seconds and you're like, oh, I don't need to walk. That was just in my head.
Yeah.
And it does kind of remind you, actually, you are okay to keep going. So.
In a race, you do feel so guilty, don't you? I walked for the first ever time that year in London Marathon when it was really hot. I walked 8 miles. I felt so dreadful. My little girl, she'd come to see me for the first time in the marathon, and I walked towards her. She went, Mummy, I thought you were a runner. I was like, oh,
how did you not cry? I would have been like, I'm sorry, I got failed.
And then this year, I said to her, are you going to come and watch me again? She went, well, are you going to run this time?
Trust a child to tell you the truth. That's funny. Oh, but wow. No, I'm glad we mentioned that because I think these are all things that people listening are like, oh, they feel that too, and everyone does.
Do you know though as well, when you cross that finish line, if it's a race that you're doing, you cross the finish line, you get a medal. Now there's this short period of time where everyone goes, oh, what time do you get? What time do you get? And other than that, most people don't care. Most people just go, oh, let's see your medal. Yeah. Well done.
Yeah.
No one says, what time do you get? I mean, runners do, if they know you were chasing a PB, they might ask. But on the whole, I would say most people wouldn't even think about asking the time. They'd be more impressive.
Runners, let alone non-runners.
They're just like, well done, you got your medal. Yeah. Let's go and have something to eat. You know, that's it. And actually, we beat ourselves up about time when we should be we should rather just be applauding the fact that we completed it and probably actually in a decent, respectable time. Yeah. But just we put so much pressure to cross the line in a speedy time that we kind of ruin it for ourselves.
Yeah.
We take our glory away.
I've told people this story before, but my first marathon, I finished it And I blew up, like completely blew up at mile 19. It was like, I looked like Hayley coming into the finish line. That was the roughest marathon in my life. I remember the next day I was doing my master's at the time, and I remember going in and people were like, oh, did you run the marathon yesterday? And I'd be like, yeah. And then they'd be like, oh my God, congratulations. And I'd be like, thanks. And then they'd go, and then they'd turn around and walk off, and I'm like, but you didn't ask how badly I did, or like how I did, so I could tell you how badly I did, but they didn't care. Like,
they're so impressed that you did it, and you came to work. So every year I do the marathon, I have to still get up at 2:30 the next day and go to work. But one year I decided, no, I'm going to run the marathon, and then I'm going to take the day off. So I took the day off, and the radio show that was on after me, they were like, where's Jenny? And the word got out that I'd taken the day off. So they turned the phone in that morning to this. I ran the marathon yesterday, but I've still got up for work. and so there are people phoning and going, I ran the marathon yesterday, I've still got up for work. I ran the marathon, I still take my child to school. And then they phoned me, and they went and they reeled off all these people that had done amazing things. So they phoned me and woke me up on my day off. And they got me to justify why I'd taken the day off when everyone else had gone to work. So I've never taken the day off ever since.
That's so funny. I love the banter between you though. That's really fun. And then let's talk about the other end of it. What about getting up in the mornings? For some, like you already said, it's hard. We all know how hard 2:30 in the morning is, but maybe someone doesn't have 2:30, but they have 3:30 or 4, or they have to get their run in early. What are some tips that you use to physically get yourself out of the bed? I'm not talking about telling yourself, I have to do this, but like what physical, do you have any tips that you use to kind of force yourself out of the bed?
Well, so I hit snooze about 10 times. I don't know if they all say, don't they? Don't hit snooze, get up. I hit snooze about 10 times. I have about 10 alarms. They're all 5 minutes apart.
Is it all your phone, or is it
all on my phone?
Different alarms?
No, all on my phone. I mean, my husband must hate me every morning. And that goes several times. And then I get up and I've nailed getting ready really quickly. So for me, I lay out all my clothes the night before, so I don't have to think about that. Basically, when I get up, I don't require my brain. My clothes are out. I know I get into the bathroom. All the toiletries I need are there. If I'm working and not running, I do have to go and wash and blow dry my hair. But otherwise, if I'm going to run after work, run home, get up, put my sports kit on, wash my face, put my hair in a ponytail, trainers are there. I go down to the kitchen, I get myself a bottle of water, maybe something to eat, get in a taxi, which is turned up outside my house. And then I go to work, and I have to then switch my brain on to write my radio show. And I'm on autopilot. I know that if I don't get up, I'll miss my show. I kind of make it as routine as possible. I even incorporate the snooze into my morning routine so that I know where I am. I know I can hit snooze 10 times and it's not going to make me late. Just means I have to be really quick at getting ready. And then I also know that I'm in my sports kit. I only go to work with my phone holder, my phone, my credit card, my travel card, my earphones, my house keys. That's all I need. I do all my work on my phone. I mean, I look highly unprofessional. If I was working during the day, people would think you should at least make an effort. But because I'm in at work, I'm on air at 4 a.m. There's no one else in the building. Not till I come off air at 6:30. So nobody really sees what I look like. And even then, people think it's impressive.
Well, even then, you look amazing, when you take your pictures either afterwards or before.
Well, they just think, oh, wow, you're going running, amazing, like that. But and then I run home and I feel great.
So that's every day you're at work, those are the days you're running?
Yeah, unless it's really rainy. And then I've started in CrossFit, which... so far, I do not think compliments running in the slightest. But it's just nice. It's something for a bit of variety. So if it's raining, I won't, or I'll go to Barry's boot camp to get some sprint work in there.
Okay. So you do a variety of things. That's cool. Okay, and then let's talk about the next thing. This is particularly probably for women, but you obviously being in the public eye, the events you're at and around. Your hair is short, which obviously helps, but for women particularly, maybe men too, when you have to look nice, you're going to be on TV and things like that.
Oh my God, you have to park your vanity. You have to, that's all. I think it is. I think that's one nice thing about running. You're so proud of your run that you don't care how you look. Now, maybe afterwards you'll be like that, oh my God, look at my hair. I look back at some of the photos I've had taken after I've done a race and that have made like newspapers or magazines. And I'm like, oh, I wish I didn't have that salt crust around my face, or I wish my that nice little dribble, or that. I really like that bright red face with my hair. How can my hair do that? I don't know how my hair sticks up like that after.
Look at mine. You can imagine how crazy mine gets with the curls.
And I mean, thank goodness that photos don't have smell-o-vision. My husband sometimes, if he comes to support me for a race, he'll bring an extra layer or two, and he's like, you need to put that on because you do not want to hug anyone at this minute. It's disgusting how you smell. He'll bring deodorant. So yeah, you just have to park your vanity, but I don't care. I'm proud of the fact that I've done a run. I'm proud of the fact I've worked hard. I am 43. I'm not, a spring chicken. I will look rough without makeup and I don't care. And I think, I wouldn't go out on a night out, or I wouldn't go on television necessarily looking like that. But, if you've just run a race and you're being interviewed, you've just run a race. It would be weird if you looked immaculate. Oh, yeah. You would look like you hadn't worked out. Do you know, I hate it when I go to the gym. Sometimes I'll go to the gym and there are women in there in full makeup with perfect hair, but they leave like that. And I'm like, you haven't worked out.
Yeah.
If you haven't messed your hair up, you haven't worked out.
Yeah.
If your foundation has not run onto your top, you have not worked out hard enough.
Have you ever had a moment where you've been kind of at that point in a run where you're feeling horrible, you need to like push yourself and make that decision, I'm going to keep going, where you've been very aware of the fact? Have you felt that pressure that like, oh, this could be in the papers, or like, what if they like take a photo of me at this point and I look just, do you ever think
it's happened. I have loads on social media. Because of Twitter and Instagram, there are photos popping up of you all the time running, so it's on race days when all the crowds turn up. They're like, oh yeah, there she is, photo. Not my most flattering picture, but that's what my husband always says, that's what you look like. Accept it. Yeah. And it's fine. Yeah, true. The one time that I have been embarrassed actually is when you went running and you need the toilet, which happens to everyone.
Yeah.
And you're like, right, I really need now. And it's dire. And I'm not saying I get recognised all the time, but I don't want to have an accident in front of anyone.
Yeah.
And I went into a gym in London, and it's a private gym, and I ran up the road and I was absolutely desperate. And I said, please, can I use your toilet? And they went, no, members only. And I was like, you have to let me go because I'm going to be hugely embarrassed. They wouldn't let me go. I just think it's so silly. The people are really daft, but when they don't understand. It's a gym as well.
I feel like most people kind of, if you're running, they're like, okay.
Yeah, just come
even
in.
if it's like a place that you probably shouldn't be going in. Most people are
just let them in. But no, look, I don't mind. This is what we look like when we run. It's good. It shows that you're keeping fit and healthy.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I was thinking about that on the train on the way here. There was a woman who spent probably at least 20 minutes like pulling out. I'm sure you get this with the TV sets and stuff, but pulling out maybe 30 different items that she used. And then there was a man sitting across from her, and he just was, probably as he woke up out of bed. And I was thinking, I was like, wow, this is insane that for, like you said, you are what you look like, your husband's. Like for men, they also don't have the side of, this is the face they're stuck with. So, and I understand like on TV, men will get makeup put on, but for the most part, men are stuck with their face, whereas women can...
They can grow a beard. They can make themselves look really sexy with facial hair. Well, I'm not saying that we can't do that. I'd rather not. But do you know what I think as well? I think if you've been for a run, it's almost like you have a natural glow. And that is the glow we want to achieve with makeup.
Yeah, that's
true. So actually, if you've been out for a run, you've got that lovely rosy cheeks. You've got that. You look fresh. And actually, you might have, as I said, the salt crust, or your lips might be a little bit drier. And I might carry lip still or a lip gloss with me. And I might have some mascara on. It might have run around my face though. But I think generally, if you have run, you look healthy. You look great.
Yeah. unless you go past that point, and I'm sure you've had the same experience plenty of times. We have to get in the shower and you go in sweaty and you come out and then you're sweaty again 5 minutes later and you're like, oh, that was too soon. But you're already in a rush. That usually happens to me actually when I'm here and I've booked too many things in my day. But just funny and interesting to think about. All right, so kind of starting to wrap up here. Just a little bit about, what you do. This is kind of not related to running, but I know people listening are interested in this, but do you find that there are people within the kind of celebrity world who, have you ever met someone who you thought was absolutely like a role model or amazing, and you've met them and been like, oh, well, they really weren't that nice of a person? I mean, do you experience that?
Yeah, so I used to interview movie stars. That's what I did all the time. I interviewed a ton of them.
I saw a nice one with David Hasselhoff.
Oh, David Hasselhoff, that's hilarious. David Hasselhoff, he was maybe at his low point. And he actually came on air. He fell asleep mid-interview on live television. And then he was a little bit intoxicated. He was at the height of his troubles, and so he wasn't in his greatest place. But I've met him since, and he's been a lovely man. But at the time, he's quite unique in his approach to live television. Certainly, I've had quite a few interesting people. I've interviewed Tom Cruise many times. I've interviewed Clint Eastwood was the first interview I did, and they've all been amazing.
That's good.
Will Smith. So it's like they've all been to PR school. They've all learned to look in your eyes.
Do you ever get them to, do you ever feel like have you ever felt like you've cut through them and you finally, do they have cookie cutter answers and you felt like you've cracked through? And
I know that's basically what every journalist is wanting to do. Everyone wants to get beneath the skin, get beneath the questions that everyone else asks. But quite often you only have 5 minutes with them. You're not going to do that well. Yeah. There have been a few actors that I'm friends with, and I know more about them, and they're lovely. Ultimately, everyone's just doing their job, aren't they? Mm-hmm. And there's no reason for anyone to be rude. And there are actors that are rude, and male, female, they're rude. They act like divas. There is no reason for it, other than they've had someone ask a rubbish question beforehand. They're feeling a bit annoyed and irritable. They're fed up of answering the same questions. They're getting 5 minutes with you. They've got to do it contractually. Yeah. So then you think, well, actually, I get where you are at this minute in time. But there's no reason for anyone not to be nice. Mm-hmm. And so if you leave an interview disappointed by someone, it's just a shame. It shouldn't happen. Mm-hmm. And I think if you're disappointed, then that doesn't bode well on those people, because they should let everyone leave feeling great. I went to Cannes one year and I interviewed Angelina Jolie, Robin Williams, Dustin Hoffman, and I'm trying to remember who else, Ray Winston. All of them were amazing. And in fact, who was particularly amazing? Robin Williams. He stood up as you entered the room. He stood up and he came to meet you at the door. Actors do not do that. They sit in their seat, you come in, they sit down, and then they'll say hello. He stood up and he walked with you, introduced you, waited till you sat down. Then he sat down, conducted the interview, and did the same on the way out. Dustin Hoffman was exactly the same. Almost shows you what the older generation is like, and they were lovely. Mm-hmm. And as long as the new generation of actors carry on being like that.
Yeah, I wonder what the next generation will be doing with the way things have changed with technology. Ella's generation, what will they be like?
I mean, her generation, she's obsessed with YouTubers. It's nuts. I don't even know who half these people are.
Yeah, that's true.
Kid YouTubers. She loves it.
Does she do any of the watching, people open boxes?
Yes, that's what she does. A girl that she likes, Tiani, I think she's called. She just watches her, and all she does is play with toys. And she just wants you to feel like this is her. She's got an amazing life. And they did the stunt. In Tiani's house has gone from being a small house to a mansion in the time that Ella has watched her YouTube channel. Obviously, she's doing quite well. Yeah. And there was a stunt where they changed the downstairs of her house. They just filled it with big plastic balls. Mm-hmm. I mean, for a kid watching that, you just think that's amazing. You just wait when Bailey gets into it.
I know. I'm actually kind of dreading it a little bit to see what things look like at that point. I I quite like her being innocent and interested with like a receipt or something. Yeah. But yeah, we'll see. Okay, so tell us a bit about Run Pod. I obviously listened to it. I have shared about it a few times, so I think people may have heard of it, but tell us about like the premise behind it. What made you want to do it?
Yeah. Thank you so much for your support with it, by the way, as well. I'm new to the podcast world, and I love running. I love the way it makes me feel. And when I meet other runners, I've found that you might not ever meet that person in your day-to-day life, but you'll meet them in a running environment. And there's a lot of people that I know, you know, and I know that we all know each other through running circuit and through the running community. The running community is amazing. You will bond with people just by chatting about running. And it's lovely. And we can chat for hours.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter where you come from. You just bond over your love of running. And I love that. I've made some great friends who I would probably never have met had it not been through these different running forums or events that I've been to. And so I realised there was something in just talking about why you love running. Yeah. Now I know that there's a lot of podcasts that have a more technical aspect, and yours offers great advice. Mine generally is just the feel good of running. And I have brought friends that are new to running, friends that have been runners for a while, people that I go out running with. And then I've had Olympians come on as well. And they just talk about why they love it.
Yeah. And I love it. Like you have a mix, such a good mix of people that you bring on. Like, we mentioned Joe Pavey earlier, mentioned Kelly Holmes earlier. So you have the kind of elite athletes kind of standpoint. And then you might have people like Peter Andre, I can't remember what's Ben's last name.
Ben Shepherd.
That's it. Ben Shepherd. People like that. So people that maybe you wouldn't expect to run.
Yeah. So Ben he presents Ninja Warrior UK, and he was a co-presenter with me for years, and breakfast television, and we go running together. And Peter Andre is a singer, and he's new to running. And then you have, I had an actor called Jason Fleming on. He was in Lockstock, and he's an X-Men. He came on the other day. He's just run throughout his career as a way of staying fit. And when he's on a movie, say he likes running as a way to take himself off and stay focused and see the city where he's filming and living.
It's so nice to explore, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's great. People all have different reasons for running, and that's why I wanted to chat to them all about it. Yeah. And actually, a lot of people listen to the podcast while they're running. They're usually about 30 minutes long, so you can stockpile them and listen to them on a race day, or if you're going for a longer run, maybe do 2, or if you're just doing a 5K run, just listen to 1, or on the commute. And throughout the podcast, we try and get people to give you encouragement, or we try and motivate you to get up off the sofa and go for a run.
And you're usually talking somewhere in there about, maybe a point where someone isn't feeling great, and maybe someone listening right now is in that bad patch. So we're listening to you right now. You got this. Like, you can do this. Like, you kind of, it's like having you in.
It's like some motivational chat in there.
Yeah.
And also, so it's just to highlight that actually where you are is great. And if you're struggling, you've only got a little bit further to go. So you might as well just get it done and think how great you'll feel. So it's been really fun doing. I've loved it. And I thought originally it was only going to be 10, 12 episodes. I didn't know. And we're just going to carry on.
Yeah, I love it. No, I really enjoy it. And there's lots of show notes, links in the show notes for everyone to go listen. I thoroughly recommend it, and I hope you will go check that out. Right. So Jenny, we just have the 4 questions that I ask all my guests. You know these as you do listen. So one piece of advice you would like to give the listeners for life?
And running related advice, obviously. My absolute advice would be, look, always think how you'll feel afterwards. It's what I do every day. It's what I do when I struggle. And it's what I ask people, what I tell my husband who's just started running. I'm saying, just think how you'll feel afterwards. And then that helps you. That helps you go, because you will always feel good afterwards. And you will always love and always remember the way it makes you feel. Because then when you're in your dark place and you can't be bothered to go, always just go, do you know that day I loved it? Maybe video yourself after you've been for a run. Video how you feel. And then on the days when you can't be bothered to go for a run, just press play on that video. And you'll be like, you know what? Look, I felt like that then. Even if you only go for a kilometre run or a mile run, do it. And chances are you'll keep going.
Do you know, that's actually really good if you kind of had yourself record a video and you're like, "Hi Jenny, I know you're thinking about not running right now. I know you're tired, you've got stuff going on, but I'm just here from your future."
Yeah.
And you feel amazing. Trust me, this is so worth it. Like, that would be funny.
Because quite often, so I have this 7-8 mile run home. Sometimes it's cold and dark and I can't be bothered. So what I say is I'll run to the train station, which I pass one, which is about a mile in. I'll run there and then I'll get the train home, right? And I've never once got the train home.
Oh, that's so good.
Because then you're running, so you're like, I might as well keep going.
Oh yeah, I think very few people would stop. And I always say that like people say they're not mentally tough, but actually there's so many moments in running that you want to, thought goes through of I'm going to stop or I'm going to get the train or whatever it may be, but we keep going. And every time you do that, you're building a little bit more toughness.
Yeah. And when you feel unwell, genuinely feel unwell, and you should stop, you start feeling guilty because you're like, no, let me just keep going. But actually, it's really difficult as someone who wants to run. It's really difficult knowing when you shouldn't be running as well. Yeah. You struggle having days off, don't you? Yeah. But it's really hard to know when to kind of listen to your body and have that time out.
Yeah, yeah. And it's, I think, a learning curve, but something you never really get to the point where it's easy to do. But great, thank you. All right, one person to follow on social media and why?
Oh, well, I would have said you, but you've already got everyone following you. There's a few people that I would like to suggest, but these two are interlinked. So I mentioned earlier Sophie Rayworth. Yeah. She is someone who...
Is that R-A-Y?
R-A-W-O-R-T-H.
Okay.
Sophie Rayworth. Now, she's a presenter over here. Annoyingly, I got her into running 9 years ago. She is now way better than me. I could never keep up with her. And she runs with a girl called Susie Chan, who again, only discovered running not that long ago. Yeah. She was a city girl. She gave it all up, took up running, and now she's an ultramarathoner. I think she ran across America not that long ago. She's amazing. They're machines. The two of them. They're running buddies. They did Tokyo Marathon just for fun. Just for fun. They weren't even racing. They're just running, taking photos, doing videos, and still did like 350. Yeah. And they did Marathon des Sables a couple of years ago, which is 8 days of marathons through the desert. And they're just really inspiring because they just go running all the time.
Yeah. Great suggestions.
And they've just done Man versus Horse, which is a race in Devon.
I've heard of that,
where you have to race the horse. They just did it. They didn't beat the horse again this year, but they gave it a good effort.
That's so cool. I have heard of that. There's a lot of like fun races in the UK.
Yeah.
Like, there's that one that you chase the cheese down the hill.
Oh yeah, the Gloucester cheese rolling.
Yeah. Okay, I'll put links to everything we've talked about, by the way, in the show notes. Jenny, what do you tell yourself on the start line of a race?
The sooner you run it, the faster you run it, the sooner it'll be over. That's it. I'm like, come on. It's only, so if it's a half marathon, I'm like, look, I'm always aiming for like 140. So it's an hour and 40, an hour 50 max. Just get around it. And then I'm like, and then you're done. And then you can have lunch. That's basically what I say. You're going to have lunch and that'll be it. You'll be super happy. And it's only 2 hours. And then that's it. I do. And then a marathon day, I'm like, right, in 4 hours, you can have lunch.
Does that work?
No, I never have lunch. I never want to eat. But I always just try and say, look, 4 hours, it'll be done. You'll have that massage. You meet your husband and your child. You can do whatever you want. And I just try and, it's only 4 hours. It's a radio show or on a half marathon. Do you know what? It's such a short time.
Yeah.
It's a movie.
Yeah. Yep. You can, I kind of sound myself sometimes like you can survive 4 hours, you can survive an hour. Like sometimes I think of it in the scheme of like life and death. Like, can you survive?
Yeah.
Yes.
I try and belittle it almost when I'm at the start line so that I get over the nerves because I get really nervous before a race. A race should be no different to any other run because I'm not going to win it. So for me, it should just be a run that I am maybe going to get a medal for at the end. So I don't know why I get so nervous. So when I start on the start line, I try and belittle it. It's just another training run. You're just going to get a medal.
That's a good way of doing it. Yeah, great advice. Thank you. And finally, can you share a running for real moment with us?
Oh, in what respect? In something that I've listened to?
Or just an experience that you've had that only runners get? Like something that only runners will understand. You've already given one, which was the salt moustache.
Oh, yeah, the salt moustache is embarrassing, isn't it? It's just horrific. Well, God, there's so many. Do you know what? When I'd had my little girl, I was so desperate to get out running again. I mean, I first of all, I went out running too soon, and the relaxing in my joints was still very much there, and I was hyperextending, and I'm already hypermobile, so I had to then delay running even further. I was so desperate. I got a running pram, and I ran everywhere.
Can you run from straight out your door?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
So pram straight out the door. It was a mountain buggy, so it's like a mountain bike of running, and I would permanently keep it loaded up with water, protein bars.
You're going to go for a 6 hour run.
My child would just go in. She didn't know to go anywhere slowly. And it was just amazing. So this is the kind of runners for real, for new mums runners for real.
Yeah.
If you get one of those prams, you don't even actually get in the car is a pain in the neck. You just want to run everywhere because it's easier than dismantling the pram, shoving it in the boot, getting the car seat out. You're only going 4 miles down the road. So much easier just to run there. So I absolutely loved that. I mean, I just thought it was just so easy. But everyone, whenever I met friends, I would turn up having run because it just became so much easier to run with the pram than anything else. And then when she got too big and too heavy, it was really annoying.
Yeah, I'm thankful that I'm still at the point where it's quite light. But the women that do like the triple stroller with like a child who's like 10 and then like a 6 and a 4-year-old or something, I'm just like,
I have so much respect for them.
I don't even know how you do that. But yeah, okay, great. That's a perfect one. And Jenni, thank you so much for sharing just your life with us, for just being with us, and for all that you do. I really hope everyone goes to check out RunPod, and I look forward to hearing what's going on in the future. So to finish up, where can people find you?
Well, I'm on RunPod. It's RunPod is the name of my podcast, and it's available wherever you download your podcast. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Jenny Falconer, and that's or Falconer, as people in the States would say. And on Twitter, I'm the same, at Jenny Falconer. So check me out. If you can't find RunPod, I'll point you in the right direction. And let me know if you've got any tips for how I can get faster. I would always appreciate it. I really would. And I'll just keep listening to your podcast because I've already been getting great tips from yours as well. And also so inspiring to hear when you talk, because I listen when I run. That's when I listen to podcasts, and it keeps me running for longer as well. And also because yours are longer than mine, means I have to run further.
Get through that whole episode. Yeah, I'm not allowed to stop. Yeah, but that's what I like about yours, is that sometimes I am running less than an hour, and if I'm listening to a podcast, wherever I finish my run, I end up missing the last part. Whereas yours, I know I can get the whole thing in. So that's quite nice. Like, I quite like that you have a shorter version as well. Well, either way, thank you so much. This has just been so much fun.
Thank you.
My friends, if you have a minute and you could leave a review on your favorite podcast player, Apple Podcasts, aka iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Spotify, or whatever else podcast player you use to listen to this podcast, or if you would subscribe to this podcast, you will help me get out in front of new runners to make our tribe even bigger and even better. It might not seem like you as one person can make a difference, but really it helps a lot. And it shows me you appreciate the hard work I put in for those. Thank you so much. Isn't she lovely? So sweet. That sounds like that song, but it just would apply to her perfectly. Once again, I'm so sorry about the audio, but I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I certainly did. Be sure to go check out her podcast, RunPod. And while you're at it, check out her social media and go follow her there. You also can go check out Athletic Greens and Body Health if you are in the US. I'm very selective about the sponsors I bring on here, and I think you will love all of those. Next week, I have a dream guest, David Epstein. Literally someone I never expected talking to. We're talking about his new book, Range, but we talk about so much more. The author of The Sports Gene changed the running world with his first book, and I think this one is going to be a game changer too. So do not miss that one. Go subscribe, and you will get it right to your podcast player next week. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful week.
Thanks for listening to the Running for Real podcast. Be sure to check out tinamuir.com for show notes and even more helpful running information.